It's always a big game when Andrew Catalon's on the call. It's been a few weeks. Jaguars-Texans the last time, but now the Eagles-Jaguars matchup in Philly. Good to see you again. How are you?
You too, JP. Always good to be with you on a Jaguars week.
Yeah, and it's a big Jaguars week. Every week's a big week, but boy, for the Jaguars right now, 2-6, just trying to get out of their own way a lot of times. There's a lot going on now. There's the pre-snap penalties. The pass defense hasn't been good. They've got injuries all over the field on offense. They're making trades, and it's only week 9. Like, there's a lot happening.
A lot happening. And I thought they played, obviously you'll point to the mistakes that occurred, but they played a pretty good game against Green Bay on Sunday. I know that Malik Willis was the quarterback and not Jordan Love for most of the second half, but I thought there was a lot of encouraging signs compared to the last time I got ready to call a Jaguars game, which was week 4 in Houston. So still not there, obviously, but we saw what happened a couple of years ago when they were 2-6. I think Trevor is playing better football now. I know I'm wearing the rose-colored glasses, but that's the way I'm looking at Jacksonville as I get set for this one.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 giveaways last week in his own end, the interception and then a fumble you can't have, but then rallied the team. So, and got him down the field without 3 starting receivers out there. That's tough to do. You got 2 tight ends in the game. That's all you're left with. So you got to give the quarterback credit.
No doubt, no doubt. I think Brenton Strange had a really nice second half. 4 of his 5 catches were after halftime when they needed him because of the injuries. Evan Ingram, I think, is still a really good tight end in this league. And I give the coaching staff credit for adjusting without the receivers. We had to see them in double tight end a lot in that second half during the comeback. So, some positive signs, but still not where any of the Jaguars fans thought they would be after 8 games this year.
Andrew, there's another trade that's happened, of course, this week. Cam Robinson is gone to Minnesota. He'll be back next week, by the way, to face off against the Jags. That'll be an interesting conversation. Roy Robertson Harris was traded earlier this year. A couple of vets with bigger contracts. It's kind of that time. They're not out of it mathematically, but they're giving Walker Little a shot at left tackle the rest of the season. It's the final year of his rookie deal. So that's kind of where they are on the offensive line right now, too.
Yeah, and I think it's a great opportunity for Walker and for the organization to figure out if this is a guy that we want to bring back and make our left tackle of the future. So in some ways, I understand the trade. I feel like, these days, the last few years, more and more trades compared to 10, 15 years ago. So I find that interesting, becoming more of the norm in the NFL. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of activity before the trading deadline next week.
All right. Final thought about this Jags offense, at least. Some young guys really playing well. Tank Bigsby stepped in, and with Travis Etienne Jr. dinged up a little bit, he's really performed well over the last month. And then Brian Thomas Jr. showing off. He had a chest injury last week. We'll see his status moving ahead. But to have those young guys stepping up and playing big, that's a bright spot in an otherwise dull start to the season.
Big time, big time. I'm really hoping that Thomas plays because I'd like to talk to him in our production meeting. I'd like to get a sense of this young man because I've been really impressed with the way that he has played. And Tank Bigsby certainly has. I think that you see it a lot. At JP, that when you have a year under your belt, it's almost like you're a whole new player in that second season. So I feel like he's made that really nice leap this year, and there's some bright points. I think if they put it all together, it's a pretty good team. Now, obviously, Kirk is no longer there, and I think that's going to be a huge loss. But you're right. The younger players have stepped up in some nice spots here for them this season.
All right, Andrew Catalon, CBS Sports with us. Jaguars defense will have their hands full. They've had their hands full most weeks this season. Let's be honest with you. They've struggled up front in a lot of areas. Rushing the passer hasn't been great. Linebackers are on and off the field. Aluakin's been out a lot. The secondary has issues in pass coverage. That's a long list of things. And they're going up against an Eagles team that can pound you, and they've got Saquon Barkley, who's second in the league in rushing yards, 2-time All-Pro Pro Bowler. He's fit right in Philly. I mean, I guess he could fit right in anywhere, right?
Yeah, no, he's special. He's a really good player. Called some of his games with the Giants over the years. Interestingly, for me, JP, is that this My first game as a full-time CBS announcer was week 1 of 2014 when the Jaguars were at the Eagles. Alan Hearns burst on the
Yeah.
scene. They had a nice lead in that game and let it slip away. Eagles on CBS, not a team that I see very often, is my point. And watching their film against Cincinnati last week, the first half they kind of moseyed around, but then the way their offense looked in the second half really impressed me. I mean, they whether it's Barkley on the ground or Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, you got to worry about Jalen Hurts running. There's a lot of different ways they can beat you. So yes, the Jaguars defense will have their hands full with a very hot Eagles team that has won 3 straight coming off their bye.
What's the key to stopping this Eagles push play?
I think that nobody can figure it out. It's amazing. Now we have to decide if we want to call it the tush push or the brotherly shove. That'll have to be something we spend a lot of time with analyzing this week. But if you're a Jaguars fan, you don't want to hear it at all because I think they're around an 82% success rate when they run that play. Jalen Hurts had 2 of his 3 rushing touchdowns against the Bengals on that play. I don't know. I mean, it's something that no one has really been able to figure out, and certainly I'm not going to be able to help the Jags do it either.
Andrew Catalon with us. AFC South, give us an idea of the rest of the division right now. We know what the Texans are, their record. Hey, there's questions in Indy right now at quarterback. There's a lot going on in this division.
Wild. So I had the Titans. I've had the AFC South the last few weeks. I had the Titans in Buffalo, without Levis, Mason Rudolph. There's a lot going on there. Obviously, they trade DeAndre Hopkins. They only had 2 running backs going into that game. They're feeling their way through. And then last week, I'd had the Colts Texans game in Houston, and we met with Shane Steichen on Saturday night. We told this on the air. We said, hey, when Flacco played those 2 games, he looked pretty good. And he's like, yeah, I get it, but Richardson is our quarterback of the future, and he's got to play. Well, here we are, and that's how quickly it changes in the NFL. A few days, he pulled himself out of the game. What role that had into it, I don't know, but the Colts are in flux. But here's the thing. They're going to probably be pretty good with Joe Flacco. I mean, this could change their season in a positive way. Obviously the Richardson part of it and how that plays out in the future, that is a great question. But in the short term, this could be a pretty good team with Flacco running the quarterback. And now Houston, Nico Collins still out, but almost back, but no Diggs. Their offensive line has not performed well. So that, they're 6-2, but they're not, to me, the juggernaut that I thought they were maybe a month ago.
A lot of football left to be played. We're
Yeah.
hitting the halfway point, and we'll see what happens. The Jags have rallied before in circumstances like these. We'll see if they can do it again. Always good to talk to you, Andrew. Appreciate it, man.
You too, pal. Thank you.